Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining me today. My name is Sandra Schwartzman, and I'll be your host for today's webinar titled 8 Great Ways to Spend Your Tax Refunds. Joining me today is Steve Minnell, Chief Financial Officer for AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust. Our presentation today is expected to last approximately 20 minutes. We will conclude this presentation with a question and answer series. If you have any questions, please feel free to fill them in on the side panel, and also please feel free to reach out to us by phone or email. I also wanted to mention that with today's presentation, we have a handout available to you. This monthly series is brought to you by AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust. Our vision is to ensure the financial security and independence of members of the armed forces community, active, retired, honorable discharge service members, and their families. We accomplish this by being the premier provider of financial planning, investment management, and trust services for all branches of the military. We are AAFMAA's trust company. AAFMAA stands for American Armed Forces Mutual Aid Association. AAFMAA, created in 1879, is the longest-standing not-for-profit association exclusively serving the military. We empower military families with affordable financial solutions. AAFMAA focuses exclusively on the needs of military families and provides innovative, personalized, and lifestyle-appropriate financial services. A key point that sets AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust apart from other companies is that we are fiduciary. What that means is we have a legal obligation to act in your best interest and for your benefit. One important disclaimer before we begin this month's webinar. The information presented herein was compiled from sources believed to be reliable. This presentation is for educational purposes and is furnished without responsibility for completeness or accuracy. It's general information and is not specific investment, legal, or tax advice for any individual. Do not rely on this presentation alone to guide your financial planning decisions. Since each individual situation is unique, your needs for financial services will differ. For individual advice, please contact us directly. We produce this webinar series in-house with our own professional staff as a service to our members and to help them better understand the resources that are available to them. I will now pass it over to Steve for today's presentation.
Thank you, Sandra. Hello, everyone. We're glad you could join us today. Before we start talking about the 8 great ways to spend your tax refund, let's think about the opposite, some dumb ways to spend your tax refund. These might seem obvious, but some dumb ways are buying lottery tickets, throwing a big party, buying a boat, taking a huge vacation, quitting your job, or loaning your tax refund to a friend. So these might not result in optimal outcomes for you financially. But are they really obviously dumb? So could one of these dumb ways to spend your tax refund actually be smart? Could that depend perhaps on your personal situation and your values? Can you imagine a situation where putting yourself on that surfboard in the picture might be absolutely the best use of your tax refund? I think the answer is maybe. Similarly, why would I include paying off credit cards or investing on a slide listing dumb ways to spend your tax refund? Popular wisdom is that you should use your refund to pay high interest debt off or invest for your future. But can you imagine a situation where paying off your credit card might not be the best use of your refund? Again, maybe you can. So my opening message here is to take what I'm going to recommend with a grain of salt. These are not personal recommendations for any of you individually, just considerations. Good ideas, great ideas. I hope you come away from this discussion with a more thoughtful perspective on financial planning. So what are your goals? How comfortable are you with taking risks? And are your actions financially leading you where you want to go? So great idea number one, and this probably not a surprise to anyone, but build up your emergency fund. If you're not ready for life's financial curveballs, use your tax refund to start getting ready. How will you get by if you lose your job or wreck your car or have a medical emergency? So if you don't have savings set aside to cover 3 months of essential expenses, you may not be ready. That is the standard used in this chart on the right for the percent that have a rainy day fund. Chart shows that only 46% of Americans have an adequate emergency fund. Interestingly, in some other research I was doing, veterans tend to be much more likely than non-veterans to have a rainy day fund. So that's good news. Ask yourself also, is 3 months enough? So most experts would recommend 3 to 6 months, but you might need even more if the economy is doing poorly, or you work in a volatile industry, have a history of health problems, drive an old car, etc. So whatever the right amount is for you, put it somewhere safe that you can get to it easily when you need it. And ideally put it somewhere that pays you some interest to help maintain its value after inflation, such as a bank savings account, a money market deposit account, or a money market mutual fund. So that's great idea number one. But if you're already comfortable with your emergency fund, great idea number two. Are you carrying high interest debt? So if so, you may want to pay it down. As a general rule of thumb, pay off your credit card every month. The advantages of doing this are that you avoid paying interest, you free up additional borrowing capacity for emergencies, and you'll improve your credit score. If your tax refund isn't enough to pay off your entire balance, then start with the highest interest rate balances first. This will result in a bigger reduction in your interest bill, helping you pay off your balance more quickly. And don't forget about your other high interest debts, like in-store financing. This is common for furniture purchases. Carrying a balance on your credit card generally does not improve your credit score, so that's a myth. Paying off your credit card every month does improve your credit score. It does it because it reduces your credit utilization ratio. That's the ratio of your credit card balance that you're carrying to the limits on the card. So credit monitoring agencies want to see your credit utilization at a low level. If high credit card balances are an ongoing problem, then this is something that's not going to get fixed with a tax refund. You need to get to the root of the issue. So study your expenses, build a budget, and stick to it. I'm not saying that credit cards are bad. A low rate card can certainly be a great complement to a solid emergency fund for some big surprises to your income and expenses. So if you have a solid emergency fund and you pay off your credit cards every month, then you may want to consider great idea number three, which is invest. So put your tax refund to work. Invest it for future use, not spend it today. So investing works because $1 today is worth more than $1 next year. So this is kind of investing 101 fundamentals. People who need dollars today will pay you if you let them use your money, and then you have more to invest, and the results compound over time. So this little chart up here at the top of the slide is a simple illustration of this principle from mathisfund.com. So what it shows you, if you invest $1,000 today and earn 10% or $100 on that investment, you'll have $1,100 at year end. And then that $1,100 will generate a bigger $110 return in the second year. And your returns will continue to grow over time, even without making additional investments. So that's why you'll hear some people refer to this as the magic of compounding. It's the fundamental reason that we invest. The principle makes sense, but how do you actually do it? That can be difficult. It's beyond the scope of this discussion, but I do want to suggest a basic investing strategy that we've discussed in some previous webinars. So first, determine how much you can afford to invest. Second, set your investment time horizon. So you have to think about your goals and how long the funds are going to be invested. Third, assess your risk tolerance. How comfortable are you with volatility in the markets? Fourth, identify the specific investment instruments that you're going to use. So what are you going to invest in? Fifth, evaluate the performance of those investments. So don't just set it and leave it, which is kind of what I implied with the discussion up top about the fundamentals, but you have to pay attention to it. And then finally, adjust and rebalance your investment portfolio periodically to make sure you're on track to reach the goals that you set at the very beginning. So 3, invest. I need to point out that there are other ways to invest besides putting cash into financial markets. So great idea number 4, make some home improvements. This type of investment can be win-win because you increase your property value and make your home more livable. When you do this, don't get fancy. You don't want a new kitchen that is extravagant in comparison to the rest of your home. That would be odd to a buyer. And you don't want a home that is fancier than others in your neighborhood. Extreme makeovers generally return less of your investment on resale. So basic updates build the most value. So keep the paint fresh, replace rotten wood, repair roof leaks, eliminate mold, and think about steps you can take to improve energy efficiency. And instead of investing in your home, you can also invest in yourself. This is what universities talk about when they talk about the return on investment from tuition. In business, we call this human capital investment. Human resources departments invest in employee training in order to increase employee efficiency and productivity. Then if it's a good idea for your company to invest in you, why wouldn't you invest in you as well? So on the job, this is typically done through degree and certification programs and then through continuing education. So if you're contemplating changing jobs, you might want to start investing in professional certification in your chosen field. And also don't neglect the other aspects of self-development that you might not get on the job. So recharge, get fit so that you have energy to pursue your work. Seek new experiences to kickstart your creativity. So think about ways you can spend your tax refund to make you a better you. For most professionals, their accumulated human capital is their most important asset, right? The most important asset you have is the ability to generate labor income over your lifetime. So maintaining it and improving it requires planning and dedication. Be deliberate about it. We talked about investing in financial assets. That was great idea number 3. Investing in your home. That was number 4. And investing in personal human capital. That was number 5. Now let's discuss a final, somewhat riskier investment, which is starting your own business. I'd like to review the 5 steps you see on your slide, which were suggested by fitsmallbusiness.com. For those considering starting their own small business. So step number 1, be honest with yourself about why you want to start a business. Don't start a business because you hate your boss, you think you're underpaid, or you want better hours. The fact that you don't like your current situation isn't a really good reason to start a new business. Good reasons to start a business are that you've developed enough experience in an industry that you think you can go out on your own successfully. You've identified a problem that your potential customers have, and you think they'll pay you for solving it. Or you want a leadership challenge, or just are excited about a particular field. So there are good reasons for starting business. Step 2, determine if you have the skills to start your own business. My favorite example here, you might be a great cook, but you could still be a lousy restaurateur. As a restaurateur, you also need to market and sell, deliver a high quality service to your client, handle the finances, and manage yourself and others as a leader of the restaurant. Step 3, determine if you have the right mindset to start your own business. If you're not willing to work long hours and get your hands dirty, then your new business will probably fail. New entrepreneurs often hold all the roles in a business from janitor all the way up to CEO, and they're tireless about making their dream become a reality. So do you have the time, focus, energy required to outwork the competition? Step 4, determine if you have the means. And your tax refund may not be enough. So how much money you need to invest, how long it takes for a business to become profitable varies widely depending on the type of business. There's one thing that does not vary, however. It always costs more and takes longer to reach profitability than founders think in the beginning. Since we're just talking about how to use your tax refund here, it may be wisest to either wait until you have more money saved, or, and this is common, start your new business on the side before quitting your day job. And finally, step number 5, this is important too. Find out if you have the personal support needed. So you're likely to have many ups and downs when starting a new business, so you need to make sure that the people you have around you are supportive of the process. If you're married or in a serious relationship, then does your partner understand that there's a high failure rate among new businesses? The hours are going to be long. There'll be lots of ups and downs, which can affect, your mood, how much spending is going to be curtailed in the early years because you're reinvesting it in the company. So it can be tough, not just on you, but on your family as well. Great idea number 7, give to charity. So what this slide shows is that Americans are charitable. They gave $390 billion to charity in 2016. That's with a B. 72% of that, or $282 billion, came from individuals. That's a 3.9% increase over 2015. Giving by individuals swamps the combined generosity of foundations, corporations, and death bequests. Those are big numbers, but most of us give haphazardly. We give without a good plan. We have a hard time saying no to a continuous blizzard of requests for donations. So how do we say no to inspiring causes or deny heartfelt appeals from our friends and family? Here's how to say no to charities that want your support. And it's simple. Have a plan. Plan to have an impact. Invest in your community with real intention. Say no to requests for support that you haven't planned. And that's easier to explain. Make sure that you give intentionally in a way that connects your personal values to your finances and that it has a measurable impact. So if intentional giving is part of your financial plan, you already have a giving plan. If intentional giving is not a part of your plan and you feel called to share your good fortune, then this tax refund might provide the opportunity to start giving more smartly than you do now. And finally, great idea number 8. I know we just talked about giving money away, but if you saved all year, received a $3,000 tax refund, and spend $500 on a family trip to the beach, is that dumb or selfish? Or could it be smart? So you can imagine a worse decision, say spending $10,000 on that same vacation. You might also be able to imagine a better decision. Those are ultimately value questions, but I submit that it is okay to reward yourself for accomplishing your goals. And if the tax refund represents accomplishment of goals you set out in your financial plan, then that's okay to reward yourself. So being a smart manager of your family's personal finances is all about smart planning and disciplined execution. It can really be very difficult to stick to a budget. Financial discipline is about building and maintaining a positive set of powerful habits and rituals. So if it's hard for you, if you need help, get help. There's a lot of help out there. So I talked about 8 different great ideas for use of your tax refund. What is the right answer? Again, it's not real clear. Unexpected tax refunds or business windfalls are sometimes referred to as, quote, found money. So you've got to ask yourself, why would you use found money differently than you would use your paycheck or existing assets? It's just money after all. Money is money. and you should spend it thoughtfully to achieve your objectives. Found money is different, however, in that it unexpectedly relaxes your budget constraint. So you can do more right now than you previously thought possible, which can be a huge temptation to spend your tax refund on one of those dumb ideas I talked about up front. If you have a sound financial plan and the strength to stick with it, you can resist the temptations that found money presents and execute your plan more rapidly with a tax refund. So that's the difference. You already have a plan for what you're going to do with the next extra dollar that falls in your lap. Use your money as you plan to use it. Enjoy it, put it to work, use it smartly to accomplish the goals that you value. So that's my 8 great ideas for how to use your tax refund. I'm happy to take a few questions if you have them. Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Steve. That was very insightful and helpful. We did have several questions come in, and we'll go through a few. The first one that we want to address asks, how will the new tax law affect me?
That's a great question. Everybody's been talking about that for a month or so. And it really depends on who you are. So the effects of the new tax law depend upon your income, where you live, your family situation, etc. But generally, we know that a few big changes will affect most military families. One, most military families are going to pay less in taxes, so they're going to take home more pay. 2, you will be much less likely to itemize than in the past. For example, the long-standing mortgage interest deduction is still in place, but you're going to be less likely to need it because the standard deduction is going up. So you're less likely to itemize. Having a mortgage may no longer provide a tax advantage to you. And the same goes for charitable giving. Certainly, you may still want to buy a home and contribute to charity, but the tax reasons for doing so won't be as compelling. And 3, there may be some opportunities for freelancers under the new law to reduce their taxable income. But to figure out how these new features apply to you, either fill out your tax return and see what it looks like, or consult with a tax professional.
We had another question come in asking, I've heard it's not good to get a tax refund. Is that true?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So this is fairly standard tax planning advice. The argument here is that you should keep your money in your pocket, not provide an interest-free loan to the government by having more money withheld from your pay than you need to actually pay your taxes. That makes sense. I guess the only caveat is for some of us, it's difficult to forecast exactly what your tax liability is going to be at the end of the year. So, personally, I would prefer to get a small refund rather than underpay. I'm not going to get it precisely right, so I'd rather fall on the side of getting a refund. I definitely don't want to pay penalties to the IRS for underpayment of income taxes. So sticking with the theme of this presentation, though, this is really a personal decision. If you don't like the bottom line on your tax return this year, work with your employer to adjust your pay withholding. If you really don't like tax surprises or your financial situation is more complicated, then pull out your return at the end of the summer and check to see if you're still on track with your withholding and what you estimate your tax liability is going to be for the year. Given what's happened to you at that point in the year, are you on track for the objectives that you're seeking? This definitely takes a lot of effort, and depending upon your situation, it could take some expertise as well, which is why many people choose to hire financial planners and tax accountants to advise them with these sorts of issues.
Great. Another great question that came through is, you said that if we need help with financial planning, we should get help. How do we do that? Does AAFMAA offer financial planning?
Yes, thanks. I love these softball questions. I'm the CFO of AAFMAA Wealth Management Trust, but I'm also a financial planning and investment management client. So admittedly, I'm a biased insider, but that allows me to look behind the curtain. And honestly, I really trust and value the service I get from the team here. They're great. In fact, my wife and I have a financial plan update meeting next Tuesday. And I always look forward to taking off my CFO hat and putting on my client hat. If you're interested in learning more, contact information is on the screen. Just reach out to us and ask about financial planning. However you want to, call us, email us, go to the website and learn more. We're not hard to find. Of course, if you decide to comparison shop because other people offer these services too, make sure you're talking to a CFP certified professional and make sure they're a person that you'd be comfortable openly discussing your personal finances with. I guess the final point is if you have a spouse or a partner, make sure that your partner participates fully in the planning process. So that will help make the process go more smoothly and make the plan be more sustainable and executable.
Great. Thank you very much, Steve. If we didn't fully answer your question or you think of another question later, please reach out to us at AAFMAA.wealthmanagement@afma.com. We'll go ahead and break here for now, but please don't hesitate to reach out to us for assistance whenever you need it. We do this every day for our military community, and it is our pleasure. This weekend, you'll receive a follow-up email with instructions on how to access the recording of this presentation. And you can always register for future webinars and review past webinars at afma.com/webinars. Speaking of future webinars, please expect an email in the next week with those upcoming details. If you found this information useful, we encourage you to please share it with your friends and family. Our membership grows stronger every year because you introduce those in your military community to AAFMAA. Thank you again to everyone listening and for joining us today. We look forward to our next opportunity to assist you.